Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We're bellied up to the bar today. Oh, I don't know what just happened here. We're bellied up to the bar today with a master sales technician, a marketing guru, a silver. I can try to think of everything I can. A silver-tongued devil here to teach us the ins and the outs, the do's and the don'ts of sales. We have brought with us, coming from lands unknown in the far flung. He's got an okay beard. We got to talk to him about his beard a little bit. We got to figure out who's got a better one. We brought with us Mr. Everte Farnell. You didn't realize you were getting applause too, did you?
Yeah, no, that was pretty amazing, and I'll make sure I drop that check in the mail that I promised you for that intro.
I'm trying. Make sure we gotta get everybody paid here. Gotta get everybody paid. So Everett's joined us. We're talking about sales, marketing, trying to get it. I love sales. I've said it 1,000 times. I think it's the greatest skill that you can have in life is knowing how to talk. But we're gonna get into that here a little bit more. But first things first, let's do our house cleaning in the bar. Over my right shoulder, for those of you that are watching us on the live stream, if you're watching the videos, or if you're listening to the audio, trust me, it's over my right shoulder, I promise you, is the big sign for Sticker and a Cause. If you've got something you're supporting, maybe you've got a sales team that you've got a sticker for, you've got a sports team, Little League, any kind of charitable organization, I don't care what it is, you've got your own podcast. Reach out to me on Facebook, the Above the Bar podcast. We also, our network is the Earplug Podcast Network. You can catch us there. LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, it's TikTok. It's all the Above the Bar podcast. If you reach out to us on any one of those platforms, even our email, the Above the Bar podcast at gmail.com. Let me know what it is. I'll give you the address where to send what you got. Send us a sticker and we'll read it live on the air. Everybody will know about it. Everybody will hear about what you've got and what you're supporting. So make sure you reach out to us. Also, maybe your media needs a little better marketing, needs a little better design. You want to reach out to Media by Dibs, and that's DIBS. You can catch Dibs on Facebook at Media by Dibs. Instagram is Media by Dibs. And if you go on to LinkedIn is Andrew Dibble, DIBBLES. If you reach out to Dibs and you let him know, belly up to the bar, tell him I'm here to belly up to the bar. He's going to give you a 10% discount on your first order and a free consultation. So make sure you check out Media by Dibs. So the bar is now open. The beard. Look, you're already getting compliments on the beard there, brother, from my buddy Nate. We're big beard people around here. If you might not be able to see it. That sticker right there, that's our buddy Aaron Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Aaron is a national all-around beard champion. He has his beard is 2 feet long.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and he gets into like I didn't realize what's considered as a goatee. Like you can just shave like a little strip back here, and now you're a goatee, and you can have like this.
Well, yeah, that's what I have. Something between the whole Santa Claus, the full-blown Santa Claus, and just a goatee, just depending on how lazy I am feeling about shaving. Sometimes if I feel lazy, I'll just do my head and let the Santa Claus come in. But
I'm all about it. Yeah, I just heard one that out in St. Louis they've got like a competition, and they had a category for me. Like I'm getting mine a little bushy sometimes, but I like this look, and they actually have a category there called business beard. And so it's got to be 4 inches or less, and has to be like very well kept, and has to be presented in a way like you're going into a business office situation.
I see. Nice.
And I think that kind of feeds into what we're going to be talking about today, sales and marketing. Give everybody a little bit of an idea of what your background in sales and marketing is.
Well, I started. I started selling professionally as a salesperson when I was 18 years old. I got a job I bounced around like most 18-year-olds from one job to another, mainly low-level telemarketing stuff, scammy kind of stuff, and decided that really was not for me. Back in the day, you'll remember 900 numbers. They're not around
Oh
anymore,
yes.
but there was one thing where that's how you did billing. So you would call up somebody and offer them a package of places that would give them a credit card, and I guarantee them that they would get a credit card if they did what you said in the package and blah. Well, they guaranteed you get a credit card because it was a secured card. So, it wasn't real hard to make that guarantee. If you put the money up, you had to do the stuff for the card. Well, the stuff for the card was put $500 up, and we'll give you a credit card. And So we would telemarket it, smiling and dialing, and then we'd say, okay, well, when somebody says, yeah, I want it, say, okay, well, I'm going to hang up and you dial this number, and I'm going to call you back in 42 seconds after you dial the number, and because they'd have to stay on so long, and you give me the code that they tell you at the 40-second mark, and so that was one of the first ones, and of course it was just terrible. I worked there for a few weeks and figured out these guys are scam artists, and I don't want anything to do with this kind of stuff.
It
And
made you
then
feel
up through the
dirty.
ranks. Yeah, well, it did, and every time I got on the phone, it smelled like stale coffee and old lady perfume from the woman who used the booth in front of me. So
Listen,
then it
sweetheart,
was,
I've got
on to
something to sell to you.
yeah, yeah, there you go. That was it. Stale coffee, cigarettes, and old lady perfume. Exactly. Um, so then I went to work for a place that sold software to computer technicians. By the way, if I'm kind of giving you the long version, if you want me to
No,
cut to the chase, I
we
will.
want to
But
hear the long version.
okay. Well, so I went and worked there for several years, and that was a little bit. It was still phone sales, but it was a little bit more of a professional environment. We were actually selling technician tools to computer technicians. So we call, we get a client base, and you call them when you had new products and et cetera, et cetera. And it actually, it was a pretty decent gig as far as it went. The owners kind of got a little out of control, and things went sideways. There was a lot of money running through that place, and when you have a lot of money and owners who were in their late 20s, things kind of so
Get a little
it got a
wild
little
for
off the
itself.
rails. Yeah, it got a little wild, a little crazy, and then from there, I've sold sunrooms, I've sold roofs, a lot of
Oh wow.
contracting work, and I started my. I had a friend who I sold cable TV when digital cable first came out. Ran around door to door and sold cable TV to people. That was a pretty easy sale. Didn't need any money. Just sign here and you get 400 channels instead of the 20 channels you're getting right now, and you'll save $10 a month. That was pretty
Yeah, it
nice
was
sale.
simple. Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
simple.
it's very simple. So then it was. And then we went. Uh, a friend of mine had a business, asked me to come aboard and start selling and working with him, and he gave me 25% of the business, which was nice because we basically we took the business from a little tiny one man shop to a company that was doing $1 million or more a year in sales
Oh shit.
and had its own crew, and I did a lot of that. I won't say that it was all me, but it was a significant portion. And then and I went on to open my own business and bought into a roofing company. I've done a lot of work in the contracting industry. Along the way, I met some people who introduced me to professional sales trainers, Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins, and some of the older guys. If we have some anybody listening in sales, they might know Grant Cardone and Jordan Belfort and
Oh
Brad
yeah.
Lee, some of the new guys, but the guys from back when, Zig Ziglar and Tommy Hopkins and these guys, J. Douglas Edwards was Tommy Hopkins' mentor. Those guys are the guys who really started that whole industry. They really kind of brought that industry up, and so the new crop of guys, and they're good. I think Belfort's Jordan Belfort's pardon me, explanation of of voice tonality is the best explanation of voice tonality ever. He's amazing, and so
It's funny
it's
you
great
mentioned
stuff.
that. It's funny you mentioned the voice tonality. So we were on TikTok live
Hmm.
just before this, and I was mentioning that we were
Hmm.
talking about sales, and somebody was like, "Oh, it's all about how you. It's not what you say; it's how you say it." A- And I firmly, absolutely believe that.
Hmm.
You can. It's that delivery. It's just like saying the. I mean, we used. Now I'm curious, just in your sales training, did you ever? Did anyone ever try to get you just to sell random items as they were training you, like sell me this pen,
Oh
describe,
no,
sell me this
no,
brick?
that's no,
See,
that's
that's what I grew up
that's
on.
a trick question though. Yeah, see, that's a trick question though,
Why?
because because somebody this pen. Well, why would you want a pen? See, that's not about selling the pen. That's about finding out why you need a pen.
Well, that's
And
the
then
need
when you find
satisfaction.
out why you need the pen, yeah, when you find out why the person needs the pen, then selling the pen becomes very easy. Hey, let me ask you. Let me ask a question, John. If somebody showed up today, if somebody showed up today, right now, with a contract for you to do a speaking gig, and the fee was $100,000 and all expense paid, flight to Italy or France or wherever, you name it. Could you sign the contract right this second?
Sure.
Well, no. Well, why? Well, you would sign the contract right this second, but you can't sign the contract because you don't have a pen. However, for a quarter, I'll give you this nice big pen, and then you will be prepared whenever something happens.
Oh, I
No
love
matter
it,
what happens to you in your life, let's face it, nobody's going to show up with $100,000 contract for you
brother.
to sign to right this minute, but you want to be
I
prepared
can dream.
because, and the pen is mightier than the sword.
I can
I mean,
dream.
something like that. It's not. It's not. Oh well, this is a nice pen, and it writes real easy, and it writes real good. Yeah, so does every other pen in the world. Shut up.
Thank you.
The point is to paint a picture and find out where the need is for them to, and that's the key to selling anything really. Is just finding out what the person wants, what the person needs, and by the way, want is more important than need. So one of the robber barons, I forget which one it was, but one of the robber quote unquote robber barons from the Gilded Age of America said one time, and he was right, that people will do without what they need, but they'll move heaven and earth to get what they want. So
I
it's a
like it.
matter of what they want. So I mean, everybody needs a roof over their head. There's things that everybody needs, but the truth is that what we really jump through hoops and do backflips for is what we want. So it's a matter of finding how what you're selling meets the desires of the person who you're selling to, and then plugging that into their desires.
Now, when you were, it's interesting you brought that up because that's actually when I was initially trained. I was trained through Achieve Global, who they don't exist
Mm-hmm.
anymore. That was the company that I was trained through, and it was exactly what you're talking about: need satisfaction selling. Were you ever
Right.
trained in any of those like specific disciplines? Hey, going to a formal training, formal schools, or was it more read the books, listen to the speakers, that type of learning?
I did a Dale Carnegie training course one time. A guy who I was working for traded. He traded to send me to the Dale Carnegie. He traded with me as a print shop, and the Dale Carnegie company wanted some printing done. So he traded printing for me to go to the Dale Carnegie course, which is very nice of them, obviously. And that was super helpful. I don't really remember. It's been a long time ago, so I don't really remember the specifics. Like they had a technique for remembering who people's names, and it's building like you build a statue. You build a pile of stuff based on. So you get somebody's name and you associate it with this picture, and then you get somebody's occupation, and then you hang it on the side of the name, and you build kind of this mental sculpture, so to speak. So I don't remember the exact details of how that worked or some of the others, but as a approach to sales, it was wonderful as approach to sales. But other than that, most of my sales training has been had been independent. Getting the tapes, getting the CDs, reading the books, and then trying and testing you put enough information in there and suddenly it just starts popping out. I was training somebody in one of my companies. I own several different companies, and I was training somebody in one of my companies the other day, and we're out making a sales call. This is a home services company, and the woman's telling me, "Oh, well, we just paid $15,000 for a new AC and $5,000 for a new 7,000, whatever it was for a new AC, and $15,000 for a new roof, and you just heard the guy, my car's going to be $5,000 to fix." We were selling her something for like $1,200, and she says, "Oh, it's this, and oh, it's that, and oh, the other, and and could you do any better?" And I said, "Unfortunately, ma'am, we can't. That's the best price we can give you. But here's the good news: once you pay this $1,200, this is the smallest problem you have, and once you pay us to take care of it, you'll never have to worry about it again." Now, I don't know where that came from. I know I heard it somewhere. They just made it up. But it was buried in the subconscious somewhere from some training program I listened to 15 years ago, or maybe 15 months ago. I don't know. But it popped up right at the right time. Boom, and came out of the mouth. And so it's, and of course she signed and whipped out her credit card. So that was, it's just a matter, you want to keep putting keep putting the information in there over and over and over, even if you're listening to the same stuff over and over. You want to keep putting the information in there, keep packing it in, because it jumps out at the damnedest times, right exactly when you need it. It'll hop right out and you close a deal. And I know I didn't make that up, but I don't know where I heard it from, but it wasn't me. But it was worth the time listening to that CD, whichever CD it was.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up that it's almost the muscle memory side to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of, I don't know what you would call it. I call it this. It's probably got another name. One of these guys like you mentioned, especially like the Dale Carnegies and all those. It's probably got some fancy ass name, but I call it, more foundational sales. Like
Mm-hmm.
learn a basic skill set, learn a technique. I don't care what it is. Learn a technique in sales and go sell using it. Don't add anything to it. Don't do anything. Just use that one over and
Mm-hmm.
over. And as you get better, you'll add stuff to it. But once you start sucking or times get tough, go back to that foundation and you can build again.
Mm-hmm.
That was always my thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do to make sure that when you're having those rough times or those rough periods, to make sure that you're still able to kind of fix yourself, or like you said, training somebody to make sure you can always go back and fix them?
Well, my foundation, that what really gave me the leg up in sales was Tom Hopkins' How to Master the Art of Selling Anything. And so that program is the one that I go back to over and over again. And it is it's a full program, but it talks about leading people through questions instead of telling them. You lead them through questions so they come to the conclusions that you want them to come through. It talks about memorizing the closes, and you memorize the closes not because you're going to repeat it back robotically. You memorize the closes because just what I said, you want to have them in the subconscious, and the best way to get them in the subconscious is to memorize them. Because if your conscious mind remembers them, you can be darn sure your subconscious mind will remember them, and they will be available when need be. So it's I would go back to that program over and over and over again. I don't even know if it's available anymore, but if somebody can find it, I'd recommend they get it if they're in sales, because it's an outstanding fundamentals program, and it's just like anything. I like that program because it breaks down the fundamentals. Zig Ziglar's stuff is very amusing. He delivers some great stuff. But I would go to anything that breaks down the fundamentals, and that gives you an entire system. So I'm going to sound like I'm shilling for Tom Hopkins and Jordan Belfort, but I'm really not. I just, I've used them and I enjoy them. But if you really want to be a great salesperson, I think the straight line is a great a straight line system from Belfort is great. I think the How to Master the Art of Selling Anything from Tommy Hopkins is great. And then there's a bunch of stuff that you can add on there as far as to supplement it. There's all kinds of stuff from all kinds of salespeople, and there's all kinds of books on sales and et cetera, et cetera. So by all means, go and supplement that. But the reason I like those two programs is because they are complete programs. They're the foundation. They're the fundamentals. If you're slipping and you go back and you break down your presentations and really do it's just like in sports. In sports, if they're going to film they're going to film what you're doing, and then you go back and look at tape of where you screwed up. Well, you might not have the ability to film what you're doing. If you do, so much the better. But you might not have the ability to film what you're doing in sales. But if you sit down and really think about the sales process and make notes, make debriefing notes, and then go back to those fundamentals and see where you're getting off track. And I would pick one. I like both of them, but if I were just starting off, I would pick one and just stick with it, like you said, until you really become a master of it. And then then add some other stuff into it for sure. For all, I mean, I'm all for constant, never-ending learning, but you really want to get a very strong foundation in one before you start doing other ones.
Absolutely agree with that. How about, and I think in our industries, and when I say industry, I don't sell what Everett sells. I do staffing, and I work with people to try to show them that, hey, there's a benefit to letting me find your employees over you
Mhm.
wasting your time doing it. I always tell people that my favorite in my industry is when somebody tells me, well, you guys cost X amount of dollars to do this. You're absolutely right. What does it cost you to not have an employee in place?
Right.
And then that's one of the big things in sales. Leave it the drop mic in sales. Do you like those? Do you ever do those? The mic drops, like just ask the question and just shut up.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the foundation of sales. Is there's a great if you're have you ever seen Glenn Ross?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So when Al
ABC.
Pacino comes up to Kevin Spacey and starts screaming at him, you know, if you never know, you don't know. If you ever spent a day in your life, you never say anything until you know what the move is. And that's that's the essence of shut up, because you don't know what they're going to say. And if you jump in and start answering what you think they're going to say, you're going to get it wrong most of the time. And when you get it wrong, then you're completely off target. So yeah, you ask a question, whether it's a closing question or whether it's some other kind of question, just like you said, how much does it cost you not to have an employee there? How much does it cost you? What's your time worth? How much does it cost you to spend 10, 15, 20 hours doing this instead of working on your business? This kind of thing. And then you just shut up and let them answer. Because if you don't let them answer, if you jump in and start answering for them, then you screw the whole thing up. You got to shut up until you know what the shot is.
Absolutely agree. How about, you know, for you, do you have, there's a lot of people out there that think they can sell. And I'm not
Oh, sure.
beating them up or anything like that, but what are some of the things as a business owner who's
Mm.
hiring people to sell? What are some of the things that are key indicators for you that you say, I like that, or maybe even industries that you personally like to cherry pick from for your salespeople?
Well, the best salespeople I've ever had have been superstar salespeople in the car business. That's just the way it's works, for good or bad or whatever. I've picked them out of the car business and taught them how to taught them how to sell in the business I was in. I think it's because the real superstars in the car business have to be killer closers. They have to be able to. They have to be able to ask for the money. They have to know how to do it. They have to take people. They have to understand the closing sequence. They have to understand how to walk somebody down the path of agreement, not shove them, not drag them, but walk them down the path of agreement. And they really have to know how to do that because they're in an industry where sales is super important. So that would be my guess. So that's the The ideal is if somebody has had successful a successful career of any length in the car business, and in any length. I don't mean 3 days,
Right.
but I mean they worked in the car business for a couple 3 years and were very successful and were one of the top salespeople in the company. They're going to do great anywhere they go. That has been my experience. The one thing I'll give you, the thing that turns me off. I mean, the thing I will absolutely, positively guarantee you never get hired is, oh yeah, I can sell, I can bullshit like ever. Oh, I can bullshit go real good. I know how to bullshit like
Oh, the
most people. Yeah,
bullshit line.
I
Yeah.
got the gift of gab. And that you might as well just pack your stuff up and leave. There's no chance that you're going to get hired.
I know exactly. Man, I could bullshit anything. I've been selling things my whole.
Mm,
Well, I don't bullshit nobody.
exactly,
I
exactly.
think that's actually been and you kind of had me think about this just now. I think that's been a shift in sales in and of itself. That maybe when we were younger and coming up, and you had the hey, let me go ahead and show you this fast car here. Look at this, it's going to go real fast. You're going to be that fast talking salesperson. I think is doesn't exist anymore. It's more of the guy or gal who walks in and goes, "This is what I've got. This is what I'm selling you. What do you need? Sounds good. This is how I can do it. What do you think?" And just leaves
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think that I think sales has become a more elegant industry, but I think that what the fast talking salesperson used to do still works today as long as it's wrapped in a more elegant package. Now, if you're going hi, fast Eddie, get the cha cha, no, everybody's going to ignore you because they're going to think you're an idiot. But all the techniques that they did, all the strategies that they used, Ben Gay the Third, a fantastic sales trainer, wrote a book called The Closers. It's one of my favorite books, and on in sales. And now Ben's book is a sales system, but I would not. I would put it more of an advanced thing. Like I'd say, listen, if you're gonna read this, don't make this the first book you're gonna read. Figure out a system, learn how to do what you're doing, get some level of success, then read The Closers. And it's a whole series. But when you first read it, of course, Ben wrote it in the 70s or something. He's been around a long time, maybe 80s. But when you first read it, you start thinking, my God, you could almost smell the coffee on the guy's breath with the three-ray reversible jacket with the two cigarette stains on the pocket. You know what I mean? But as he goes through, you find out that what he's saying in there is just as valid today as it was in probably the late 70s when he wrote it. I don't know exactly when it was published, but something maybe early 80s, something like that. But it's been several days. It's been a long time. So yeah, I think that you have to be more elegant because we're in a different age. We're in a far more suspicious, far more cynical society today than we were 50 or 60 or 70 years ago. But what those people did still works today. Human psychology doesn't change a tremendous amount. It is expressed in different ways, but it doesn't change a tremendous amount. So the fundamentals always work. They always have worked. They always will work until Ray Kurzweil's deal comes true and we're merged with machines and uploaded into some fucking robot or something. Pardon my French. Until that happens, humans are going to be humans. Are going to be humans. Are going to be humans. It's why. It's why the bad boys got all the girls in the 50s and the bad boys get all the girls in the 2000s and 20s. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Human nature, and you kind of and that kind of brings up my next thing, where I'm curious for you and in what you've been doing. Obviously, you saw a shift in sales and sales
Mm-hmm.
styles with COVID. Is there anything that what did you have to do? I guess there's a couple parts to this. Like, what did you have to do to maintain during COVID? And then what are you keeping from and what are you throwing away from that? Like, what do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, because well, I mean, I would say that first of all, luckily, I'm in a state, the great state of Florida, that only overreacted for a few months and then realized, wait, this is silly. And I don't mean to belittle people who have been sick with COVID and or God forbid somebody should, somebody or somebody out here have a relative that died from it or something. I'm not to belittle anything, but there have been nasty illnesses coming along for thousands of years, and they come and they go, and society doesn't shut down. The swine flu came through, it was terrible. MERS came through, it was terrible. All this stuff happened, it all came through, it was all terrible. It's just we have a overreacting society these days, unfortunately. So what I would say, though, what we did, number one, you had to get better at telesales. And that was something that was something that actually it was good for me, because I think I told you that's kind of where I cut my teeth in sales. I've done a lot of belly to belly over the kitchen table sales, but I cut my teeth in selling on the telephone. I'm kind of let's just say I'm not Everett is not going to win any style competitions in the next rest of his life. Okay. I'm perfectly happy in a pair of nasty, worn out athletic shorts and a t-shirt that has a ketchup stain from lunch on it. That's, I'm perfectly fine with that. Doesn't bother me at all. But I can get on the phone with you, and in your head, I'll be wearing a 3-piece suit, so that's, so from that point of view, I loved it from, as the telesales increased. And I think that probably, as that started to happen, as more telephone sales and written communication and email and this kind of thing, as this became more prevalent, I think that some of that's not going back. Some of it is, the guy who used to travel all over the country, and he'd hop on the airplane and fly all over the country, and he was away from his family 6 days a week, 49 weeks a year. And now this time, he was at home all the time, and he was doing Zoom meetings, and everything was fine. And look, we didn't lose that much sales, and everything worked out fine. And I don't have to be away from my family. Now, some people might want to be, but that's a different story.
That's a whole nother subject.
But the guy who didn't want to be, the guy who was doing it only because he had to, realized, holy shit, I don't have to anymore. So some of that's not coming. Some of that's gone. Some of the stuff is never going to come back. Nobody, they're not going to be doing traveling. They're not going to be doing that kind of stuff. And and I think that's a good thing. It's still there if somebody wants to do it. I haven't been on an airplane in years. When my kids were young, my daughter's 20 and my son is 17. And when they were about, I guess probably 3 and 5, because they're 2.5 years apart. So part of the year they look 3 years, part of the year they look 2 years. And I traveled. I was on a plane every month for at least a year, maybe a little bit more. And I got done with that and said, I don't ever want to travel again. So I told you I own a local home services business. I also own a consulting business. I do marketing and sales consulting, which is kind of how our mutual friend who introduced us, how I know her. So I said, I don't want to do it again. And I immediately raised my prices. So if you want me to come to you, that's fine, but it's going to cost you about 10 times as much as it's going to cost if we do, an online meeting. So we can do a day of consulting online. It's going to cost X amount. If you want me to fly to you, by the time you get done paying all the bills, it's going to cost you 10X. And if that's really if you just got to have me there, fine. But most people, most people say, what's the advantage of having you fly there? And I say, absolutely nothing. And they say, we'll just do it online one. Why don't we stick to that?
Lunch. The advantage is you get to buy me lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a little bit more than that. I mean, first class airfare both ways, 5-star suite, very, very picky diet. Well, why do you make all those demands? Because I don't want to go. Right. That's why.
I'm trying to tell you, don't bring me.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. let's do it online. I'll be home in my own bed at night and be able to hang out with my kids, and you'll get all the service you would have gotten anyway. So yeah.
Now this is one of my personal trainers that in my Marine Corps career got me. Master Guns Ray Gagnon just popped in. Contact team equals he was on the Marine Corps contact team.
Oh,
Different
okay.
city every week in home city, first of the quarter, life on the road, year after year. He was
Yeah.
constantly gone, and he was
That's a tough life.
he was and he had to show up and basically unscrew people who were jacked up in sales, and that's really
Hmm.
where my belief in the foundation of sales. I used to always tell the analogy I used to always use, and this will show our age a little bit. I don't know if you're a big football guy or not. I used to always use the analogy: what's the difference between Ryan Leaf and Eli Manning? And guys would be like, well, this. I'm like, fundamentals.
Hmm.
Eli had amazing fundamentals that when the
Hmm.
game changed, he could go back to. Ryan Leaf couldn't. And for those of you
Right.
that are listening that has no idea who that is, go look up who they were. You probably know Eli. Ryan, you can go pull up his arrest record, and now he's a big public speaker. Um, but no, I mean, I, I I just recently, doing some shifts in my own sales, I found one of the things that has gotten better on my end, and I was curious about this for you, is that I find going and knocking on doors is better now.
Probably because not as many people are doing. Now, you mentioned I'm a marketing guy too,
Right. I was
and
going to ask you about that.
yeah, one of the things in the same vein as knocking on doors is better because not as many people are doing it. Doing direct mail is better because there's nobody in your mailbox because everybody is so enamored with online marketing, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube ads and Google pay per clicks and all that stuff. And if you'll buy a stamp, you're in a very minimum competitive zone.
Interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
so you're saying that there are some legacy marketing things that still have value. Like where would you
I
in those legacy marketing things, where would you put the value in ones that you would say, "Hey, I know you just mentioned mail outs. Where do you put those things?"
for local businesses, for entrepreneurial businesses, I would say number one is direct mail, but worth testing. Absolutely worth testing is magazine advertising. I still do a lot of business out of newspapers. If you talk to most marketing people, oh, newspapers are dead. Nobody advertises in newspapers. Yeah, nobody except the largest national brands advertise in newspapers all the time. The smartest direct marketers in the country advertise in newspapers all the time. Go pick up a newspaper. I know for you, 20-year-olds, a newspaper is actually a it's not online. It's actually a printed thing on a piece of paper. It's folded over. It's on cheap paper because it's disposable, and you actually like pick it up, has the news in it, not advertising in it. And yeah, I mean, people are, all over the place. It's so I would say definitely direct mail. I think newspapers are worth testing. Magazines are worth testing. Believe it or not, yellow pages are worth testing if you service an older demographic. There's a lot of people who are who are in their 60s and late 60s, 70s, 80s. They got money. They're willing to spend it if you can do what they want you to do. But they don't want to get on Google and type in the name. They don't even have a computer, but they have a yellow pages that still gets delivered. It's a lot smaller than it used to be.
Yeah.
But guess what? That's because there's less people in it. There's less companies in it. So it's worth testing. Will it work? Well, I don't know. That's something you've got to test. The thing in marketing is you always got to test it. There's all kinds of strange places that people run ads that end up working beautifully well, and all kinds of places that should work that don't work at all. So but the fundamentals, I would say, as far as legacy marketing, I would say direct mail is probably the first. That's where I would start with any business. And if anybody tells you direct mail doesn't work, it's just because they're doing it wrong. That's like if somebody goes to the gym and does the exercises. Puts 4 pounds on the bench press and does put 10 of them, and then gets in the mirror and looks and says, "Oh, well, that I didn't gain any strength in my chest." Well, yeah, because you did it wrong. So direct mail works for virtually every single business in existence. Even Google and Facebook use direct mail. Think about that. Google uses direct mail to sell their pay-per-click, to sell their AdSense, right? I mean, what? Well, yeah, because it works.
See, and it's funny. Like I always try to explain to people with my market, and I'd be curious if it would work for yours. I still believe in television ads because I
Sure.
feel like if you own a business or you're in that professional level, you still sit down and watch the news. You probably don't watch the shows or none of that, but you watch the morning news, the evening news. You catch those things because you want to know what's going on in your community or
Right.
what's happening nationally. So I still feel like those are valued things. What's your thoughts on that?
I've not done a whole lot of TV, but that's only because it's just not something that I've ever taken the time to do. However, I will say in general, if the demographics are right and the viewership is right, then it's absolutely worth a try. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to sell something to 22-year-olds, and you're going to put it on the nightly news, the NBC nightly news, local news in your area, it's not going to sell. But if you're, like you said, if your market is watching, and then it's worth a test. And of course, when I say test, I don't mean run ad and say, "Oh, we didn't get any phone calls." With anything like that, you've got to run more than one, over and over. What's this say?
So
Dog
Master
user
Guns
postcard.
owns one of the. It's actually the largest veteran-owned franchise in the country. Is J Dog Junk Removal.
Oh,
He
okay.
owns one of those, and what he's
Uses
saying is
postcards.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
postcards notes highly effective in repeat referral business, direct mail, new, old, modern, secret. Yeah,
Yeah,
Master Guns,
and it's
I'm
only
with you.
it's only a secret because it's not bright and shiny and buzzing and flashing in their face, so everybody thinks, and there's no direct mail salesperson, right? So there's a newspaper salesperson, there's a radio salesperson, there's a Facebook salesperson, there's a Google salesperson, there's an online salesperson, there's a guy who wants to sell you sell you a website, right? But there's nobody that wants to sell you direct mail. So it's
That's true.
so nobody knows about it. It's a secret hidden in plain sight,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
mean
just a pile of gold.
and like you said, it's a new, old, modern secret. Just
Hmm.
leave it out there, and I'll tell you, I think the as we're talking about it, and I'm thinking about things that come to my house that are in,
Hmm.
especially construction or service industries like that. When those come to
Right.
my house, I'm probably more likely to read those ones than any others because they're normally, you've got this problem, I've got this solution. Here's a
Hmm.
coupon or something in there. Call me at this number. They're direct or
Here's
to the point. They're done.
here's a secret that I usually don't tell people unless they're paying me. Okay, so um, when you do direct mail, people believe that you're a real business more because
What do you
there's a
mean?
physical thing. There's a physical. They you had to pay to buy this paper. You had to pay to put ink on it. You had to pay to put it into postage to
I'm
get
writing this down.
them to deliver to you. When you any they everybody knows at this point that a 12-year-old can set up a website, and and anybody who's looked into it knows that Facebook, Google, etc. is all pay afterwards. They know you can run up a bill and you pay the bill afterwards. So I could literally start a name whatever kind of goofy business of stuff that I don't know how to do. I could start a business tomorrow on Facebook, put up a website, start running some Facebook ads, start driving some traffic. I could start that tomorrow with probably about $75. And you can't do that with direct mail. And people subconsciously know that. They know that this is a physical thing I have. This person has invested and trying to get my attention and sending me this piece of this piece of mail. So they must be a real business. Where that guy with the pixels, maybe, maybe not.
See, that makes so much sense to me.
Hmm.
I've never put it in those terms, but that's deep, brother. Like that's really. I mean, as a guy who does this, also, I mean, I'm thinking about that, and I'm a believer in legacy, and I told you what I believe in. But
Hmm.
just thinking about that, like, because I do the same thing. How many times do you see an ad on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, anywhere it pops up, and you're like, scroll past this. This is
Hmm.
another scam. It's a scam. It's got to be a scam
Yeah. Well,
because
and
that's
there's
what we
another
think
reason you
anything
do that
online
too.
is.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to be a scam. Also, the other thing is that it's a crowded marketplace. All right. So whatever preferences that Facebook has learned that you want to see, whatever preferences that YouTube has learned that you want to see, Instagram, et cetera, whatever preferences they've learned you want to see, you're getting, that's a busy marketplace. You're getting slammed with ads from a million different, maybe not a million, but a
No, I
thousand,
get
two
it.
thousand, 3,000 different advertisers who are just hammering you and hammering you and hammering you and hammering you. But when you go to the mailbox, you don't get anymore. You don't get two or three pieces of mail from the same industry.
No,
You might get, you'll get your co-op mailings, your advos or whatever the co-op mailings are. You'll get maybe maybe there's a magazine that you get once a month that has 400 different advertisers in it.
like a penny saver or something.
But
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then you might get a postcard or you might get a piece of direct mail. But that postcard or piece of direct mail, if done properly, it's the only one in there.
No,
It's the only one. It's the only one in your industry. Even if there's two postcards, it's the only that's only you're the only postcard in your industry in that mailbox at any given point.
does anybody still
So,
sell those addresses anymore though? Like you can
oh,
always get do that. I'm like, I don't know.
privacy was dead long before the internet, my friend.
I know
I
that.
could
Like,
I could get. You said nothing's off limits, right? Because it's kind
yeah,
of a
no, go
politically
for it.
correct example, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I could get a list of one-legged midgets that drive 1978 Cadillacs
Right.
with primered driver's side front ends that lived in any given zip code in the country. Now the list would be
Right.
small, but I could get that list in the 80s,
Yeah, and they
long
only
before
live
the
on the left
internet.
hand side of the road. Yeah. Oh, look, I know what
Exactly,
you mean.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Eh,
privacy's been dead for a long time.
well, we were just talking about this, and I'm not promoting this company, but I'll save the name. But there's a company out there that reached to me through for my company that one important to me is finding people like you, company
Mm-hmm.
owners, getting past gatekeepers, getting past those people who feel like they're the proprietary holders of all the truths for the company, and they're not decision
Right.
makers though. And that's always been the toughest thing in sales, how to get past the gatekeeper. And we have LinkedIn, you can just click on it and get past them. There's a company that I talk to that will give you, I think they have somewhere around 3 million or 4 million names of HR managers, directors, everything else under the sun. And we're not just
Mm-hmm.
talking their office email and their office phone number, their personal phone number, their personal
Mm-hmm.
email, their LinkedIn link. And when I asked the guy, how did you end up with this? He goes, oh, we paid. And he told me the number, so many millions of people they paid to be able to look at all their emails and the email signatures within their emails. So they paid people to look at their emails, look at their email signatures, and take all those signatures and create a database.
Well, here's a technique. Tell me something. How much is a customer worth? If you can land let's say a decent sized business, not a small business, but if you
Right.
can land a business has 1,000 employees,
Oh my
and
God.
doing some business, how much how much?
Yeah.
Well, a small business according to the SBA is 500 employees or less. So there's lots of quote unquote small businesses who are doing
Right.
millions in sales. But if how much would that be worth to you?
In my industry, if I landed a company that had 1,000 employees,
Hmm.
you're physically talking. It's millions of dollars that could be over a couple of years. At least 300 to 400,000 a year.
Okay, so here's what you do. I'm going to tell you how to get in front of any HR manager you want to get in front of, and you're going to do it way better and way easier than doing a database and sending emails and everything. Okay, you find out where their office is, find out where they're, and there are these books that you can do a book, or you can do like a video, a little video where you load up a video and you open up and the video clicks on. So you make your presentation on that video. Okay. You take that video and you give it to a courier, and the courier dresses in a suit, goes in with a briefcase handcuffed to their wrist and handcuffed, and goes in and says, I need to deliver this directly to Mr. So-and-so. Now that's an expensive direct mail campaign.
Yes.
But if that person is worth $400,000 or $500,000 a year to you on a year after year, then you're going to get a remarkable return on investment on that. And like I said, it might cost you $300, $400, $500 per piece that you send out. But if you're closing 1 in 10, so it costs you $5,000 to get a sale for somebody who's going to pay you back $400,000 in a year.
Oh yeah.
It's a no brainer.
Yeah. All day long.
And so you make sure the courier shows up in a suit with a tie and wearing their with the handcuffed, and you got to do the whole thing. You know what I mean? You don't say I have to give this directly to so and so. You don't not well. I'll take it. No, I'm sorry, I can't take it. I have to give it directly to so and so. They got to have the handcuffs. That's the key to the whole deal. And they'll get through. I promise you.
Oh yeah. Like who's stopping? Like we all know the handcuff briefcase.
Right.
That's that's presidential level importance.
Exactly.
And Master Gun says easy to get mailing list now because there's so few businesses doing the direct mail. I kid you not, I'm probably gonna have a conversation tomorrow with my marketing team, because I've been talking about this, like, hey, we really need to send out direct mails to companies to say we're in the area, we're here, this is what we do. I really think that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the thing: is not only we get to the person, there's not one person who gets that who's going to not watch that presentation.
Right? No, not at all.
And yeah, and
the CEO of the company's coming to the HR's office and being like, "What the hell's going on? What was that?"
Yeah. Well, that's the HR person is going to call him and say, "You got to get down here. You're not going to believe this. Look at this thing. These people sent this. It showed up with a guy who was handcuffed to his wrist, and he refused to leave until he handed it to me personally. And he had the key and he wouldn't unlock it, and he did his wrist, and then he unlocked the thing. And yeah, you'll get a lot of people. Huh?
Have you done it?
I've done something like it. I haven't done that exact thing, but I've done something like it. Yeah. And it's a very successful campaign. It only works if it's a very high ticket item.
Right.
But it gets, now the cheap way to do that, and I don't recommend that for you because you're talking about big numbers, but let's say somebody's making $1,000 sale. The cheap way to do it is with FedEx. So you put everything in a FedEx package and send it, and FedEx is always open. There's not a FedEx that's delivered anywhere in the country that's not opened. They're never ignored. Envelopes are thrown right away. FedExes are never thrown right away. FedEx shows up with an envelope, with a FedEx envelope, and delivers it, and it's getting opened. And it's probably not getting opened by the gatekeeper. It's probably getting opened by the person who it's addressed to.
Right. Yeah,
not all the time, but probably.
Gatekeeper's probably not touching that thing like, oh shit, this says Joe Smith on it. Joe needs to get this. That's theirs.
Right. Yeah,
it's
not as good as the guy with the
look, I want to just videotape that one. Master Guns, if you're out there still listening, you got your suit. I'm sending Master Guns in. Just send it.
Yeah, send an old gunny. He'd scare him.
Oh, Master Guns would be perfect. I wouldn't have to worry about anything. He would cost me too much. He would be way more than a couple $100. I couldn't afford him.
By the way, as a side note, I just want to go back just to the sales thing. The one thing that I regret about the one sales training I regret not getting is U.S. military recruiter sales training. Those guys are incredible. Those guys are the best. So that's the one thing that I would like to have had is going through the sales training the recruiters go through.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Master Guns Gagnon was the one of the Marines that trained me when I came out, and I was full of piss and vinegar, and I thought I had it all figured out, and it was
Mm-hmm.
him, Brad, him, Matt Shy, Brad Lang, Bill Kelly. These are folks I still stay in touch with to this day. All were senior to me, and guys that would sit me down, mostly telling me I was a loudmouth asshole who needed to
Right.
just listen because I was a hard closer. I was a hard closer. I was the guy that when you walked in my office, I shook your hand and went, "So you ready to be a Marine?" Because I wanted to close it and be done with it, do paperwork, and be like, "See, I'm a badass. They just saw me and wanted to be like me."
Right.
And then these guys were like, "Hey, idiot, do you think we sent you to school for 3 months so you could just do that?" That's why you're these guys. That's why some of these guys aren't shipping to boot camp because you got no rapport. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
other thing I wanted to talk about. We're getting close to that hour mark. You got time still, or do you need to get ready to
Yeah. No.
go?
No. We're good. We're good. I'm
Okay.
having a good time, so we're great.
Um, I know the value I put into it. I truly
Mm-hmm.
believe it's the uh, most important tool that we have in our arsenal is building rapport.
Mm-hmm.
How important or how I guess I'm not even trying to think of the best way to ask this, but how difficult was it for you to learn to build rapport?
It was very, very, very difficult. I, by nature, am kind of prickly. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people, which seems like completely antithetical because because I'm without patting myself on the back, I don't want to break my arm, patting myself on the back, but I'm a really friggin' good salesperson. But I'm not naturally friendly. I'm not naturally, I'm, if you see me walking down the street, if I don't know you and you say hi to me, I'm probably going to ignore you, unless you're a good looking girl. And so building rapport was something I really had to work on. I had to work to learn how to do it. Um, and, but it's just like anything else. It's just a skill, right? I mean, human nature is human nature is human nature. So you just learn the skill. Um, get prepared for prank mail. Now, sorry, I keep getting distracted
Yeah,
by
no, I'm sorry about
by the
that. I try to
comments.
bring up when people have
Yeah,
comments so that they can
yeah,
all.
no, that's fine. But it's just a skill. So and it's just a matter of learning how to do it. So, mind
Yeah,
if I tell
please.
a field story? I
Yeah,
was going to say a
please.
war story, but with all these Marines around here, I'm a little ashamed to call one of my sales field stories a war story. Um, so
I used to call
I'm at
parents
this.
insurgents.
Yeah. We used to. I was selling a roof to somebody one time, and I walk into their house, and this guy, he's an older guy, had his granddaughter living with him. Granddaughter was late teens, still in high school, and she was running out of the house while we were there. She's bye, grandpa, whatever, papa, and he's leaving, and he's just, he's done well for himself. All sales
Mas-
stores are worse. Well, thank you, Gunny. I appreciate that.
Master guns. That's master guns.
Master Gun. Oh, pardon me, Master Gun. Pardon me. I didn't mean to. Don't be mad at me. Um, and so and he's just prickly as can be. He's arms folded, standoffish, scowling. And at the time, I used to have somebody who came with me to do all the nasty stuff. Right. So I would dress nice, and then I would have somebody climb up and go through it because I wanted to be a roofing consultant, not a roofing salesperson. So I would have somebody, they'd crawl all over the roof and take pictures and crawl through the attic and do all that stuff. Then they'd go hop in the truck and wait for me to get done. So, so that guy, and not only that, but that gave me, while he was doing that for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, it gave me a chance to get some rapport because we don't have anything to talk about. I don't have the roof inspection back yet. So we can't even really talk intelligently about your roof. So we're sitting there for 20 minutes. It's a good time to start chatting and getting a little rapport going, getting a little something going. So, and this guy, like I said, I mean, the kind of arms in front of him
Oh yes,
and
closed, completely closed
just,
off to you.
just not, he's not going to hear anything. He just, I can tell. It's just give me the price and everything. So I'm saying, oh, what's that? Oh, that's kind of cool. And yeah, yeah. Oh, I got that there. Hmm. And then I saw this, what looked to be some kind of native mask, like I don't know what kind, but some kind of native Aboriginal mask or something up on his thing. And I said, I said, man, hey, let me ask you something. I said, those things, what are those? Those are really, there's two or three of them. I said, those are really cool. I really dig those. What are they? Are those some kind of native mask or something? And he goes, no, I made those. And arms came down and smiled. I said, you did? He said, yeah, I also made the one in the front yard. Come look. And he shows me, and he's got like this wind thing in the front yard. It was made out of a very dark tin. And I got one around the corner too. And as he's leading me around the corner, I'm grinning. Better get your checkbook out, son, because you're getting ready to you getting ready to buy a roof. And he did, by the way. He bought the roof. And and by the way, when I say, I say that kind of stuff, and people think, oh, they think it's scummy. Look, that's every salesperson. That's what they're in it for, the action. And we always did a great job. It was a roofing company I owned, so I knew it was going to be the best roof that the guy ever had on his house, anywhere in any house he ever did. So I didn't mind being a little, but yeah, it was just when he opened up, he dropped his arms and smiled and opened up and started showing me around his house, and it was like, we're done. Yeah, I mean, you might as well. It was as if the sun was going to come up in the morning. It was as sure as anything else. He was buying a roof that day, and he did.
Well, that's the drug. That's the drug for us. Like,
Yeah.
like I've had anxiety attacks. I've had heart palpitations. Everything. But the minute that close happens, you're like, yeah, and you want the next one, and you want.
It's a heck of a dopamine hit.
It is massive, and it's funny you're talking about the body language. I actually, like I said, you talk about the sales training we got in the military for recruiters. I've actually got formal classes on body language, how to speak, how someone's talking, blading, which is when somebody turns their body sideways. That means they're trying to leave the conversation. Closed hands, open hands, all that stuff. Can't tell you how important that is. Have you ever done any training on that, or do you provide that to any of your salespeople?
A little bit, and I've never done any training. I've read some books on it, and I have learned through experience over the last 30 years. But I would not call myself an expert at it. But basic stuff, yes. I mean, I can. If you look one direction, then if you look one direction, you're thinking. If you look the other direction, you're imagining. With your eyes. If people are closed up, obviously that's one thing. If they're opened up, that's a whole different one. And it's more about body language that you want to present. So, like for example, I'm 5'9" and weigh a little over 300 pounds. Now I'm overweight,
Little guy,
but
little guy.
in fighting trim, like if I was in fighting trim, getting in the ring, I'd be about 250 pounds. So I'm a big guy who has some fat on him, not just a fat Jello blub, And so what I learned early on is when I knock, because I've always been big. When I knock on a door at a house, I want to take 2 steps back and turn sideways, like I'm getting ready to leave. Just like you said, like the blading, like you're getting ready to leave. I want to do that and turn to, so that when they open the door, it's not like this big guy coming at the house. You know what I mean? It's very non-threatening, because it's almost like I'm getting ready to walk away. So it doesn't feel like I'm pushing my way in their house. So that's
interesting.
So a lot of body language stuff like that about how to control your body, because the fact is that the way you control your body is going to, in at least half or more of the situation, is going to affect and determine how they control their body.
I agree 100%.
Are you familiar
smiling.
with the idea of pacing and leading? Are you familiar with the idea of pacing and leading?
What's that?
Okay. So what you do is you mimic their body language, right? And you mimic their body language. When they make a move, you make a move, and you do this. You don't want to be, you don't want to, like when they do this, you like you're in a mirror, right? You don't want to be, you don't want to be an idiot about it. But if they're sitting like this, then you kind of sit like this and you talk with them. And, and then when they, if they put their arm down, then you wait a second or two and put your arm down. And, if they shift in their chair, then you wait a second or two and shift in your chair. And you start doing that, and you get in a rhythm with that person. And then you start moving your body, and they follow you. It's very, very interesting. It takes some practice, and it's a higher level skill. But if you get good at it, it's very interesting. I'm rusty. I'm out of practice because I don't do a lot of what is that? Mirroring, pacing, and leading. Yes, sir. That's exactly what it is. I'm out of practice because I don't do a lot of face to face sales anymore. But when I did, I used that a lot. I used that to open. Now I told the story about finding something to create rapport, but I did that a lot to open people up because I'd start using my body like they did theirs, and then I would open myself up slowly. You can't just like a big huge change because they won't do it, but you slowly just start opening yourself up a little bit at a time, and then they'll open themselves up. So a lot of it is how you handle your body will inform how they handle their body.
It makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
I get, but I guess I've never heard it put that way. I like that one. So, so all these different things. Have you? I'm just. This is more of a curiosity. Have you ever thought about putting your own, putting what you've learned techniques into written for making a book or a video or any of
I,
those kind of things?
I do consulting with people depending on, so I do consulting with businesses who need sales training. I'll do sales training of their staff and that kind of thing. I don't really want to put together a product for a couple of reasons. Number one, frankly, if you're looking for a product, I think there are fantastic things in existence. You don't need mine. The world doesn't need Everett sales training. It's got incredibly good sales trainers out there already. And number two, that business, the product business, the it's called info marketing is what people in the business call it because you're marketing information. It has it's been tainted as of late because what'll happen is every 30-year-old who's had a success on Instagram or who got lucky in business here or and that's not taking anything away from them. I mean, if somebody has done well for themselves, then bless them, good for them. But everybody who has any little success now wants to create a product and sell the product, and it's just it's should I? Probably. But am I going to do it? Probably not, because it's just a personal thing. I don't like the industry anymore. I loved the industry when I first started 30 years ago. And that industry is responsible for a lot of my success, learning what people did, and learning how to do these things, sales and marketing and, et cetera. So I don't take anything away from the good ones in the industry. There's just too many people who are not good. There's too many people who are not really that good. And, there have been some old time folks, in the business. So, for example, one of the people who was considered kind of the modern day godfather of info marketing, his name's Dan Kennedy. Now, it existed a long time before he was around, but he didn't invent the business, but he's kind of considered the godfather of it. He expanded it dramatically. And one of his sayings was, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, meaning that you don't have to be perfect or the best of the best of the best. But when Dan said that, people took it as, oh, I can read a book and then just repackage what's in the book and never having done it. And what he meant is you don't have to be the best expert in the world, but he kind of thought nobody's going to do this without being competent at the skill that they're trying to teach. And the problem is that do you remember the old mimeograph machines from when we were in elementary school? Not the
Yes.
Xerox machines, the one.
Yes.
Wait, do you remember you'd put one and then you'd use the copy and like the third copy you couldn't read anything on
Right.
it. It was just a
It
bunch of
got
H blocks. Well, that's kind of what we have now in the info marketing business. They're like third copy, it's third generation mimeograph copies of people who really knew what they were doing.
it's the
Now,
movie
not all of them.
Multiplicity. It's the
Not
movie
all of them.
Multiplicity.
Exactly. Yeah, not all of them. That's not to say everybody in that business. There's a lot of great guys in the business, so I'm not poo-pooing the whole business. It's just there's enough of the other ones that I don't really want to be in that business too deep.
I get that. Well, I still think you should maybe put together some YouTube videos or something. And if you're not going to promote yours, because Master Gun's always is supporting me. He's got his system. It's called the Boss System. He's got one that he puts together. So you can
Oh, okay.
Reach out to Ray Gagnon and check out the Boss System. But I'm scrolling across the bottom right now. If somebody is looking for some consultation work, for some sales consultation, if you go on to facebook.com/ and you look up Everte Farnell, and that's Everte, and then Farnell is FARNELL.com. You can find him also on
Yeah. Well, take take the .com off of that, off the second one. It's
Oh, that's right.
facebook.com/Everett
It's Facebook.
Farnell.
I had
Yeah,
an extra.com. So take the
that's okay. No
extra.com
problem.
off. And
Well,
then
you put my website on there too, everettfarnell.com, but you can't get in touch with me through my website, so don't go there.
yeah, don't
You
go
go
there.
there, look at it if you want, but it's nothing effective or productive there. The Facebook is how to get in touch with me. Yeah.
And LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah, LinkedIn, and is I'm on there, and I'm on Instagram, and so yeah. But
He's on the gram. It's a lot of swimsuit modeling pictures though on his Instagram.
not a me.
Him
Jeez.
in very small 2-piece. I'm just saying.
I think they would probably kick me off if I did that.
Yeah,
They'd say you violated our community standards.
you violated so many things we don't know what it is.
We don't even know where to start, but we don't come around no more.
What is Santa Claus doing, Mom?
Oh, that's
Oh,
funny.
well, we're gonna get ready to close the bar up here, Everett. It was a pleasure. You are welcome back anytime. This was, I mean, I always say that I love talking to other sales folks. This is, I can talk football, I can talk sports, but there's nothing to me as enjoyable as talking sales and telling sales stories and all those things. I got one for you that just was an experience. Well,
Oh, I love
I'll
it.
tell it to you afterwards. You'll get
Okay, okay.
you'll get a good giggle out of it. Because it's, I don't know if anybody. I'll tell it anyway. You'll love this one. I'll tell this one, and then we'll get out of here. So I was with one of my Marines, and we
Mm-hmm.
were in. Do you ever heard the term cold cracker country? You ever heard that term?
No, can't say I have.
So cold cracker country is northern PA, Panther Valley, Jim Thorpe,
Okay.
around those areas of PA. Very a lot of Slavic people settled there.
Mm-hmm.
Were coal miners. That's
Okay.
that great Pennsylvania coal.
Okay. Coal cracker. Yeah, that makes sense now.
So
Okay.
I'm with one of my Marines, and we walk in the house. And I always say the nicest piece of furniture in the entire house was the half keg kegerator in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the There was the baby brother crawling around with snot and cat hair on his lip, looked like a
Sure.
mustache.
Mm-hmm.
The room that we were interviewing the kid in was all the walls except for one, which was a window, had Barbie dolls on it,
Mm-hmm.
completely around the room. I got a giggle out of the kid when he's like, "Yeah, my brother was in the Navy, but he was like, I don't want to be here anymore," so he just left and they let him go. And I walked out and I looked at the brother and I went, "So did you pop for marijuana?" And he goes, and the kid goes, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, so you failed the drug test, right?" He goes, "Yeah." So all this is going on. Kid fails the practice ASVAB, fails it, but he didn't do too
Uh-huh.
bad. We were like, "Hey, a little bit of practice," and we're talking to the kid. About that time, Dad and Mom finally show up. Dad walks in and he looks like he could have been a member of ZZ Tops,
Okay.
but super skinny.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Mom walks in, and as Mom says hello, she goes, "Hello." She reaches her hand out and grabs and pushes back on her face. And I look, as she said hello, her teeth shot out of her mouth.
Oh no. Oh no.
I was like, and I'm like, where in the world am I at right now? I'm a kid from East Baltimore. I can handle anything, but I'm like, where in the world? Every Marine recruiter will tell you they're going to write a book. I'm going to write a book about my experiences. None of us ever write a
Right.
book.
Right.
None of us did.
Right.
But so we know where we can find you on Facebook at Everte Farnell, LinkedIn Everte Farnell. If you're looking for consultation work, please reach out. If you're listening to this, you hear it already. Everett knows his sales game. He's just opened my eyes to some legacy marketing things that I'm going to go take back to my people and say, hey, this is of value to us. I love the idea that it's a piece of paper. It's real. It's not digital fakeness. You're real. You're in front of me. Love that. But now don't log off after this. We got to talk for just a moment. But
Okay.
as we do in every single episode, the guest always gets the last word, Everett. So what's the final word for us?
Well, You want to hear a funny sales story?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm training a roofing business. I go in with this with the guy salesman's named Gene. He's training me in the roofing business, and he we walk into this house, and it's a beautiful house. I think it was in Orlando, maybe in Tampa, but I think it was in Orlando. It's a beautiful house, and they have this big white dog, not huge, but big enough, 50, 60 pounds, and this thing is just uncontrolled. It's not mean, just jumping up, and the wife is, oh, Fluffy, or whatever the hell the dog's name was. Oh, Fluffy, stop that. Oh, Fluffy, stop. Oh, Fluffy, leave the guy. Oh, leave him alone. Oh, Fluffy. Oh, I'm so sorry. She's like this all the time. She just loves people, and the dog's jumping up, and it's getting to the point where it's annoying. I mean, I love dogs. I really, I'm not saying that as a trite throwaway line. I really do very much I like dogs more than I like most people. But this dog is just getting annoying, right? So she says, well, come on, if we ignore Fluffy or whatever the dog's name was, we'll, he'll go away. He'll go leave us alone. And so she says, come, let me show you where the leak is. So we start up the stairs, and Fluffy starts after us. And it's the homeowner, and then Gene, who's training me, and Fluffy jumps in front of me, and I'm bringing up the rear. And this dog jumps up on Gene and starts like humping him. And Gene picks up his leg, it lifts his leg at his knee, and heels kicks that dog right in the balls. It was the funniest thing I ever saw.
Oh,
the dog goes, yep.
Oh my God.
Gene turns around. Oh my God, Fluffy, are you okay? The woman turns around. What's wrong? He said, I don't know. I must have stepped on his foot or something. I didn't even know he's behind me. I'm on the side, like my eyes are tearing up, and I'm biting my tongue, trying not to laugh.
Oh my God.
It was the funniest thing I ever saw in my life.
Oh my God.
And needless to say, the dog didn't bother us for the rest of the visit, but that, I mean, it was, that kind of stuff. And sorry if you're a dog lover, I'm a dog lover too, but the dog had it coming. It was being annoying. Somebody needed to take control of the thing. If memory serves, Gene sold the roof too, but it was just, I mean, it was everything I could do not to fall down the stairs laughing. She turned around, eyes big. Gene faked it. Oh my God, what happened? What's wrong, Fluff? Fluffy's running down the stairs and around the corner. And I don't know. I don't know what happened. I must accident. I'm so sorry. I must have stepped on his foot on accident. I didn't know. I didn't know he's even behind me. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He's fine. He'll be fine. And I mean, in the meantime, he kicked that dog right in his nuts. I mean, just bigger. Oh, it was hysterical.
All righty, folks. Be sure to push a stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.